Glass etching is such an easy and quick project, and it's one of my favorite ways to personalize gifts, and that's exactly what we're going to do here today. Make sure you stick around to the end to find out how to make this glass etching really pop. I picked up a bunch of these jars at the Dollar Tree recently, and I thought these would be perfect for teacher gifts, so I'm going to make these into some candy jars. And we are going to grab some rubbing alcohol and just clean these off really well and get them all prepped and ready for our etching. So I just use a coffee filter because they're lint free, and I rub this down with rubbing alcohol. Now make sure when you're using this on glass that you really dry it really well, or your vinyl will not stick to this very easily. And what we are going to do here is use some self-adhesive stencils. Now you can pick these up at the Dollar Tree. These here I found, they're pretty small for what I want to use, so I'm not going to use those today. And I do have these larger ones that I picked up quite a while ago, I believe at maybe Hobby Lobby. And these are all pre-cut individual letters. And they have a sticky back, so they are self-adhesive, and these would work fine. But because I have a Cricut, I am going to cut out some vinyl. And here I have the 5 letters that I'm going to be using. These are just the initials of the teachers that these gifts are going to be for. And I like having this option with the Cricut that I can just pick out the font and style and all that good stuff for my projects. So we are going to get started with the first one here. I'm going to grab my transfer tape, and I'm using transfer tape from Tech Wrap Vinyl. They seem to be my favorite transfer paper right now. It just works really well. And I'm going to take my first letter here and place it down on that transfer paper, and then I will burnish this down with my scraper tool. And I like to do the back and the front of this just to make sure it sticks down really well. Here I'm just flipping it over and doing the front side because I started with the back. And then we will peel the backing off of this vinyl, and grabbing my first jar, I will just find the placement that I want for this letter T. And when you're placing this down, just make sure it's where you want it, because once this sticks down, it's pretty much there for good. You could try to use the wet method if you want, if you're going to be really picky about where you want this placement to be, but I just went for it and it worked out pretty well. And then I'm going to rub it down and peel this transfer paper off. Now, rubbing this down so it sticks really well, I am actually going to grab my hair dryer, and I think this is one of the pro tips that really helps to get a good etch every single time, because this just secures this down to the glass even more so that you know there won't be any like seeping underneath that vinyl. Now just giving this one more rub all the way down here good. I'm going to speed through the next 4 here as the process is the same, and then we will get on to the etching process. Hey guys, I'm Sarah. If you haven't been here before, welcome. I'm glad you're here. If you've been here before, welcome back. I really do appreciate you guys and the time that you spend here learning all the little tips and tricks on how to use your Cricut and just crafting in general. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that. Hit that like button and notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of the future tutorials that we will do as we go on our crafting journey. Now, like the first one, I'm also going to hit these all with a little bit of heat from the hair dryer and just press down all that vinyl. Grabbing my Armor Etch cream and this brush that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. I really like this brush. It's a makeup brush, but the bristles are a little stiffer, so it works better on one of the parts that will be coming up later as to why I like that. But I'm going to just take a bunch of this etching cream and I just really glop this stuff on, you guys. There is no need to use sparingly, and We will get to that in a few minutes as to why you can just go ahead and use as much as you want and not be wasteful. So we're going to just make sure that we cover up all of the exposed glass that we want etched. Now, when I cut out my vinyl, I always make sure I put a box around it that it cuts out so that I have enough space around the edges so that I don't worry about getting this where I don't want it. Now, if you want to go ahead and put painter's tape around this, go ahead. But we're going to go and put all of this on and then set a timer for 5 minutes. Now, after 5 minutes, I come in and do what you see me doing here now. I am using this brush that has harder bristles on it, which works really well for this, to just push that etching cream down into the glass where it has already started to work. And just going through all 5 of these, as you can see, I'm just pressing this and rubbing it down in there. And then make sure you cover up all of that glass again so that it can continue to work and do what it needs to. Now I go ahead and set the timer for about 3 minutes, and I'm going to come back in with the brush one more time and scrape off all of the excess etching cream. So this is why I say go crazy and just load this stuff onto your projects, because in the end you just scrape off all the extra and put it back in your jar. And you guys, this little jar has done so many projects for me, I can't even tell you how many, and there's still a ton in here. So now we're going to take this to the kitchen sink, and just with a wet paper towel, I'm going to just clean off whatever might be left on the glass. Now you guys, remember that this is a chemical and I probably should be wearing gloves, but I've been doing this for quite some time. But make sure you read all the safety instructions on the bottle before just going at it here. Stay safe, cover up your fingers. Now I'm just going to start peeling off this vinyl, and then I will head back to my table to show you the big reveal. And here you go. There you can see the R on this one that I've peeled the vinyl off of, and it turned out pretty good. I actually like the results of this. So now we will peel off the rest of these and see what we're left with. Now taking my hairdryer one more time just to dry these off really good so that we can see this etching better. And now comes the good stuff. Here comes the candy, and we are going to go ahead and fill up 2 of these jars and see how they look. Let me know down in the comments if you have tried this glass etching before, or if there are other types of glass projects that you would like me to do tutorials on how to do this, because I'd be happy to help. Now after filling these, as you can see, it is visible, but it is kind of hard to see the letters. And like I said at the beginning, I was going to show you what we can do to make these letters pop even more. So I'm going to grab something that is called Rub and Buff, and I have one here in silver. And I'm going to take this and just do what it says, rub and buff this into where the etching was done. So taking a tiny little bit on just this part of a t-shirt that I cut apart, and I'm going to rub this over where the etching is. And then what you want to do is just rub it in and then keep rubbing and buff all the extra off. Now, when you do this, do one at a time. I did 2 here, and I'm suggesting that you do not do that because this stuff can dry a lot faster than you might think. So do one at a time, and after you have enough covering up where you etched, just keep rubbing and buffing until all of the extra silver is off. And as you can see, we are left with some very fun and definitely something that pops out a lot more than if we had just etched it. Now the etching is fine if you want to leave it that way. I like to do this for different like wedding gifts on wine glasses, and then I just leave it without the extra buffing colors, and you can get them in a few different colors. But here, as you can see, that just adds a little bit more to this special gift that we made for some teachers. Now, if you like this tutorial on glass etching, watch this next one here on how to etch slate.